Hello everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Leslie Watkins. Sorry, too many buttons to push. So I hope you're doing well. I have a really nice project for you today. We're going to be painting some holly, and and this is a really fun thing to be able to do at this time of year because you can decorate just about anything with it, and it's quick and it's easy, and it will make you look like you're just brilliant. So let me turn you down and show you what I've got. I have my watercolors to the side here. So I've got red, yellow, and blue. I've got a couple of watercolor brushes. I also have my water containers. I have a sponge. This is a damp sponge, so it can sop up any excess water. And I've got a couple of paper towels off to the side here in case I need them. So let me get you squared away on here. This looks a little crooked. There we go. So I have, I want to show you something. Let me show you a little box that I made. I'm going to zoom you in a tiny bit. So I made a very simple little box, and this was just a prototype. I was just messing around, and it's a cute little crumb cake colored box on the sides. And what I did was I painted some little holly decorations just on scrap pieces of paper that I had lying around, just very quick and easy. And then I mounted them onto, well, first I put some gold paint around the edges so it has a little bit of sparkle. And then I just mounted it on top of these real red layers and added a little bow. And it makes this really cute box. And this is a reinforced box, so it's nice and sturdy. This is very strong. This is a box that will last for a very long time, and it's kind of a nice size. So let me just check my computer. Okay, that's looking good. So I should also mention that I have, today is the last day to sign up for my box making workshop, and I'm going to be showing you how to make 3 different kinds of boxes. So we'll be making a something like this, which is the hinged box. Okay, now this one's holding a little tea light in it, but this is a very easy to make hinged box, and you can make this in whatever size you like. I'm going to be showing you how to make a reinforced box like this, and I'll be showing you how to make an explosion box like this. Okay, and then you can go ahead and decorate this any way you like, and there are a lot of options to choose from, really, whatever your imagination takes you to. So that's my box making workshop, and if you're interested in that, just go to dandelioncottagedesign.com and subscribe to Notes, and I will send you all the information plus the registration and what you need, the materials and the cost and everything you need to know. So that's the box making workshop coming right up. Today's the last day to register. The other thing that I want to mention is that today is also the last day to register for my Holly Painting Watercolor Card Club. And this is a subscription club, And if you sign up for the card club, every month you will get instruction on how to paint a different subject. So for December, we're going to be painting the holly, but I also want to let you know that there's going to be a bonus video of how to paint a chickadee as well. So we're going to be painting both a holly and chickadee. And all of the information for the watercolor card club is also in notes from Dandelion Cottage, and you subscribe to that by this website. Okay, so I think that's the business out of the way for the moment. So today I'm going to make it super easy for you, and this is something that you can do with either watercolor or water-based inks. And you don't even have to sketch. Okay, there's a really nice stamp here in the Christmas Gleaming stamp set of some holly. And I will list all of the supplies that I use here today down below after I do the video. So this is a live video. So as soon as I'm done, I will then put together a list of all the things that I used so that you can just click on that and go right to my online store and recreate what we've done here today. So this is the one we're going to use. Here's an example of one of the cards that was made with this stamp set, really great set. And I'm going to be using this stamp, and I'm just going to mount that up on my block. And then this is a scrap piece of the Fluid 100 watercolor paper, and this particular piece measures 2.5 by 2.5. And I have some Sahara sand ink handy. It could be anything. It could be crumb cake, it could be a gray, any kind of a light color ink. Looks like my top is coming off here, but any kind of a light colored ink. And what you're going to do is stamp it off. So I have some scrap paper here, and actually it's pretty. This is really, my ink pad really needs to be re-inked, so it's very light already. So I'm not going to bother stamping it off this time, but if you had a darker ink, you would do that. So there we go. Now we have a very faint outline to guide us. And now I'm just going to give my watercolors a little bit of a spritz, get them wet. And let's see, I'll start with my larger brush, and I'm just, let me zoom you in so you can see much better. You're too far away. There we go. So I'm just mixing off to the side here a little bit of yellow and blue, and I'm mixing a kind of a dark green, but keeping it very diluted. And I'm just going to put a pale wash on certain areas of my leaf. And you can also do this just as easily with your water-based inks, and I'm going to show you an example of that shortly. Now, when you join my watercolor card club, not only do I demonstrate the subjects in watercolor, but many times, not every time, but many times, I will also include a quick lesson on how to use the water-based inks also. And but it's very close, and there's not a lot of difference between the two. So if you already have if you're a stamper and you already have water-based inks, then you will be good to go. And if you want to take it at some point to the next level and get a little more artistic, I can show you how to do that very easily. So I keep my lessons very simple, and I go over the basics. Oh, I should mention too that starting in January, we're going to be starting the beginning watercolor course, and that is a 6-week course, and I cover everything from values to color mixing, perspective, composition, and much, much more. So if you or somebody you know might be interested in beginning to learn watercolor, this is a great chance to do that. It'll get you off to a great start, and you'll be able to begin painting with confidence. And again, that address is dandelioncottagedesign.com, and just go there and subscribe to notes, and I will also have that link below as well. Alright, so now I've got a little wash of green on there. Now I'm going to go into my red, and this is a cool red, so I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow to it to warm it up a tiny bit. And I'm just going to put a little bit of color. I should be switching to my smaller brush for this. Just a pale wash of red on my berry. And I'm just going to continue along on the others. Okay, so that's my underpainting. Just a very pale wash, just to sort of get it started. And now I'm just going to build it up, going from light to dark. I'm going to switch to the smaller brush because I think it'll work better. And going back to my green. So this time mixing up a darker mixture, stronger mixture. And I'm just going to begin to increase the darkness. So I'm getting all these little points on the holly leaf. Go on this side too. Okay. Get some of the veins. There we go. Do the same thing on this other leaf. Okay, now let's get some more color on those berries. Okay, so that's coming along. And I'm just going to continue now doing the same thing, just getting darker as I go and adding more detail. Just getting some of these little veins in. Now you want to remember that your paint will dry darker than it looks when it's wet. And so you may have to go back in to a couple of spots and just increase the darkness here and there. So I'm going to take my paint again, and this time I'm mixing up an even darker green. All right. And I can just make that a little bit richer. And get some of my details. Now at the end of this video, I'm also going to give you a quick demonstration on how you can put together a little box and decorate it with your watercolor. So if that's something that you think would be interesting, you're welcome to stick around. But we're going to have a little bit of a 2-for-1 today, a little bit of watercolor and a little bit of box making. So two of my favorite things. Okay, so those are my leaves just about done. They could use a little more work, but I want to keep this video shorter, so I'm just going to leave it there. And finish my berries. So once again, going back into the red with a drop of yellow, and I'm just going to get a little more color on there. We want these to be nice and bright. In the Painting Holly card club, I will be working from a live specimen, and if any of you have access to some holly, I recommend that you go get some, because it's always best to paint from life whenever you can. Okay, and you'll also have the choice of either working from a stamped image, like I did for this one, and we'll also be working from a sketch. Okay, so I'll give you some pointers on sketching from life as well. Alright, so let me zoom you in. I don't know if I can zoom you in anymore, but oh yeah, a little bit. Is that it? There. Okay, so there's our holly painted. Alright, and I want to show you another one that I have here. So this, of course, is the watercolor, and I'll just put this to the side so we can do a side by side. And then here I have the same stamped image, and this one I painted with inks, and I added some of those additional stamps these are actually from a different stamp set, but there's a lot of mixing and matching that you can do with all of the different foliage that's available. So watercolor on the left and ink on the right. Alright, I'm going to zoom you out now, and I'm going to show you how to make a really cute box. So I'll put these off to the side, and I'm just checking to see that this is going okay here. There we go. Okay, so I have some pieces of paper already cut. These two started out as 8 inches square. All right, so I've got the top and the bottom. I'm going to be using the very vanilla as the bottom layer. And all I'm going to do is, since I have these all scored and cut out and ready to go, this is the reinforced box. I'm just going to very quickly give the score lines a nice burnish. Whoops. There we go. And the same thing. Get those tabs. And this, by the way, is the thick cardstock. So when you're making your boxes, and if you'd like to make sure that they're nice and sturdy, you want to use the thick cardstock for your boxes, and it comes in both the white and the very vanilla, and of course all of the colored cardstocks as well. And if you're not familiar with these products that I'm using, these are from Stamping Up, and the papers, the cardstock, the inks, the designer series papers, everything coordinates beautifully. So you don't have to go searching around for ribbons or embellishments and other things to match. It's already done for you. And I'm going to zoom you in a tiny bit. The quality is excellent. So if you're taking the time to make something beautiful, you don't want to fall apart, and that's why I like using these products. So all I'm doing is I'm just going to take a little bit of glue, and I'm going to put it on these 4 tabs all around. And I'm going to join up those corners. I have one more Christmas card class coming up, and today is the last day to register for that as well. And that features the Snowflake Splendor Suite. So it's beautiful gold, not golds, blues, and sparkle, lots of glimmer, and you can see in a previous video an example of some of the things that will be done in that class. There is I made a little note card box video that uses some of the product from that suite. If you need a catalog, please let me know. I still have some holiday catalogs, and they're only going to be good for a couple more weeks, but if you'd like to see them, I'd be happy to get one to you. And now I'm just going on my side flaps, fold those in, same on this side. I'm going to give that a burnish, my bone folder. There we go. And this helps to spread the glue, gives you really good adhesion. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the last 2 flaps. And this is a nice wide flat box. So the box measures 1 inch by 1 inch by 4 inches, and you could put some really nice jewelry in here. It would hold a necklace, a bracelet. You could put a cookie in here. If you were giving a present to a crafter, maybe you would give them a roll of ribbon, a spool of ribbon, or you could fit a collection of note cards in here or photos. So it's a nice little box. I'm just going to grab my other piece, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Hold that for a moment, make sure that my corner is nice and square. so double check. The corners are important. Make sure those are meeting up nicely. And then your flaps. I find it easier to do two opposite flaps at the same time because I can hold them a little bit better. Okay, give it a little burnish. There we go. And as I'm looking at my watercolor, I can see that it looks pretty dry now, and it is a little on the light side, so I think what I want to do is go back and put a couple of nice dark accents before I mount it. Okay, so there's our box, but before I close it all the way, I want to give it a couple of thumb holes because it's a nice snug fit. So I'm going to grab my punch. All right, so I've got this little punch here. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to change my mind. I make sure I've got nice crisp edges all around. Yeah, I don't have the exact size punch that well, this one will work. So this is a 1-inch punch, and you could go a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller with it. I'm just going to take a little, just a little crescent out of two opposite sides. Okay, so I've got these little thumb holes. And I'll just make it a little bit easier to open and close the box because the lid does fit snugly to the bottom. So there's that. And then I have some designer series paper. And this is a piece from the 'Tis the Season pack. And so it's got a little bit of the shaded spruce and the real red in there. And this measures 3.5 inches square. So we're going to put that down there. I'm going to use my ink painting, and this is just a little bit shy of 2.5. And I have a mat already cut out for that. Let's see, does it go this way? It goes that way. Okay. So I'm just going to put, oh, and by the way, you can use the packaging. I meant to tell you that earlier, but I save all of the packaging from the Fluid 100 watercolor paper because you can use that to paint on as well. So there's a tip for you. It's like getting an extra sheet in the package. Get that where I want it, just like so. That looks pretty good. And this is a perfect example of what I was saying earlier. So this DSP, which is the designer series paper that I'm using to mat this, has the shaded spruce color in it, which is the same ink that I painted. Oh, you can't see very well, can you? There you go. So you see it coordinates perfectly. And there's the other side of the DSP, which is also very, very pretty. All right, now get that moved over a little bit. I'm using one of my clear blocks to give that a good burnish on the inside of the lid. There we go. So that's what you can do with a beautiful painted image, in this case holly. So there's my box, and then here's my watercolor again. I'm going to zoom you in so you can see a little bit better. I'm just going to add a couple more touches here. So you can see the difference of how these pictures can dry lighter than they look when they're wet. So I'm just taking a nice dark green and I'm just going to put a couple of touches like so where I want it to be dark. And I think you can see that that makes a difference. And I'm going to do the same thing to the berries. So here's my red. And I think what I'll do is I'll put a tiny bit of green in there to make it even darker, and just get right in here. Okay, so that's what I've got to show you today. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that this gives you a little bit of inspiration to do something a little bit extra for your Christmas cards and your packaging this year. And also to invite you to come join me in my watercolor card club so that you can learn to paint a different watercolor each month. So there you have it. See you next time. I'll be back on Saturday with Paper Crafting Saturday at 12 noon.